we are in good shape in terms of this header component. As a next step, let's try to build a footer component which is responsible to display the footer inside my website. You may have a question like how this footer is going to look like. Let me show you the same. Inside this website, if you can scroll down, here at the bottom, we have a footer with a heart symbol as well. The heart also is blinking continuously. I hope you're seeing that graphic. The footer says built with love by EasyBytes, and EasyBytes also have a link which is going to take to my website easybytes.com. So let's try to build this footer. To build this footer, we need to build a footer functional component. Here under the components folder, I'm going to create another subfolder with the name footer. It is completely possible in real projects as well. The components folder can have subfolders. Developers usually follow this approach if they have multiple files related to a component. Previously, for header, we have only a single file. That's why I have directly created this file under the component. But this time, I want to show you different style as well, where you may end up having multiple files related to your component. Files like your actual functional component, any CSS files related to your component, any JavaScript utility code related to your component. All such files, you can club them under a subfolder as you can see here. Please make sure to have the folder name to always start with the small case letter. You should not start with capital case letter. Under this footer, I'm going to create a new file with the name footer.jsx. Inside this, I'm going to type export function footer because this footer is a JavaScript function name that I'm trying to use. This footer is not going to accept anything as an input parameter. That's why I have mentioned empty parenthesis. Next, after the export, I'll make sure I'm mentioning default as well because I want this functional component to be exported as the default one from this file. Since our footer is having a heart icon, which is coming from the Font Awesome library, I need to make sure I'm having supporting import statements as well. Let me go to the header.jsx and I'll try to copy these two import statements and mention here. The icon that I'm trying to import this time is FA heart. Next, inside my functional component, I'm going to have a return statement, which is going to return my JSX code. Inside this return statement, I'm going to create footer HTML element. To this footer HTML element, I'm going to pass class name as footer itself, followed by under this footer, I'm going to have a content which is built with space. If you see here, built with space, after the space, I want to display the icon. So what I can do is I'll go to the next line and try to refer to the Font Awesome icon component. Using this Font Awesome icon component, I'm going to invoke the property icon. And to this icon, I'm going to pass FA heart as the icon. Next, I'm going to mention the class name as footer-icon. Followed by, I'm going to mention area-hidden is equal to true. This is a setting that we are telling to the accessibility tools. There are certain tools which are going to help to read and understand the website to the blind people. For such tools, I am telling to ignore these Font Awesome icon related code because this is just a beautification that I'm trying to do. There is no meaning here. I don't want my accessibility tool to read it loudly, saying that heart icon, which is not going to make any sense to the blind person. After mentioning this setting, I need to mention space followed by space. After the by space, we need to mention EasyBytes with a link. That's why what I'll do is in the next line, I'll try to create an anchor element with the href value as easybytes.com, and I'll also mention target also to a value underscore blank. This target underscore blank is going to help in opening the link in a new tab. Instead of opening inside the same page, it is going to open in a new another tab. After target, I'm also going to mention rel is equal to no referrer. This is a security related setting that we need to mention whenever we are trying to use this target underscore blank. In between the anchor elements, I'm going to mention the content which is EasyBytes. As of now, I have created required JSX code. My JSX code simply has HTML-like code along with the styling options. Whatever class names that I have used here like footer-icon, So all these stylings I don't have under the index.css because for footer, I want to have a separate CSS file just to show you the demo that it is also possible. What I'll do is just under the footer subfolder, I'm going to create a new file with the name footer.css. Inside this CSS file, I'm going to copy some CSS related code. You can get this CSS related code from the GitHub repo as well. Here what I'm trying to do, the styling which I want to be specific to my component, I'm trying to maintain in a separate file called footer.css under the subfolder footer. With this, I'm trying to maintain all footer related files under a single folder. Now under the footer.jsx, I need to make sure I'm importing the CSS file. Otherwise, my footer functional component will never know about the CSS file present here. Let me type import, and this footer.css present inside the same folder. That's why I need to mention single dot followed by /, and after the /, I'm going to mention footer.css. And towards the end, I'm going to mention semicolon. Inside header.jsx, we have not imported anything related to CSS because if you go to the main.jsx, here the index.css is already imported by the Vite build tool. So all the components that we are going to build under app, they all going to inherit this index.css. Under app, we have header, and that's how header is going to get all the CSS that we have defined inside the index.css file. Now let me go to this footer.jsx. I'm assuming we are good here. We can go to the app.jsx, and here I can try to return header and footer, both of them. So let me mention parentheses because I'm trying to return multiple lines of JSX. So here first I'll try to import footer from components, footer folder and footer file. And since footer is the default export, I'm not trying to use any curly braces here. Next, inside my return statement, I'll try to mention parentheses followed by I'll try to mention footer component here. But this is not acceptable because if you can recall all our discussions around JSX, whenever a component is returning a JSX, it should make sure it is returning a single HTML element or a single root element from the return statement. Whereas if you see from this return statement, we are trying to return two different elements or two different components like header and footer. To resolve this issue, what we can do is we can try to create a div tag and surround the same around header and footer. With that, the issue is going to be resolved because here technically we are returning a single element div. Under this div, we have multiple childs. So this is perfectly possible inside React. There is a drawback with this approach because we are unnecessarily introducing div elements inside our HTML code. I'm going to explain you how to overcome this challenge in the next lecture. For now, let's save these changes. And inside the browser, if I try to refresh, you'll be able to see I have a footer immediately before the header. This is fine. Once we build the in-between content, the footer is going to come to the bottom of the page. But at least I'm assuming you are clear on how the footer is built. If you click on these easy bytes, the link is also working. Let's continue this discussion in the next lecture as well. Thank you. Bye.